Okay, what do I think about digital cinema and film itself? 35, 70, regular 70. Um, I really don't care for the 15 per IMAX. I really don't care for it, or its IMAX version. Um, but those things are digital. Just like they're video projectors. Nothing more, nothing less. Video projectors have been around for a long time, but not being maybe used for cinema. I mean, you imagine some perfectionists uh, not allowing their product to be converted to digital just for the exploit of just the gain of making bloody money, which is still what film is all about. But the LP, when it came around, 1999, Phantom Menace, Toy Story, the promise was to make it cheap. That's what it boils down to, is to make it more affordable. That making prints, copies, will be cheaper than film. The equipment, the projectors are probably costing a little bit more than the 35 or the dual 3570 projectors, namely like Philips DP70s. Well, that's a classic. Anyway, does it make it more affordable? Does it really make it still more affordable to this day? No. It seems like the prices are just going up higher. And people's attitude towards it is like ego. It's like, oh gosh, look at those numbers. Oh, they're big. The specifications, the technical specs are very great on the line resolution and the pixels and the luminance and the, oh god, my eyes just rolling. But does the quality mean that the story, well written, whatever, with what it is produced with in digital, is it better? Not in my opinion. I've seen some real lousy, bloody annoying artifacts with bloody digital cinema, and it just makes me hurl. Ugh. Oh, color banding noise. Oh, that is one artifact that really gets under my skin. I thought pixelation was bad, but color banding, oh, that is one artifact that just bloody annoys me when seeing these layers of they look like paint. It looks like someone's painting a wall, yeah, and you got dry and wet spots, and if you don't use and do the wall so that the colours look uniform, that's what it looks like when you see colour banding. The colours are they're coming apart, undone. They're not gelling together very well, and typically I've seen it on Blu-ray discs. My first encounter with noticing this artifact was a few years ago down at the local Empire Cinemas, Tower Park, with Titanic 3D. Though I throw the 3D glasses away, I wasn't going to watch that that movie in that abomination format with 3D. I've tossed the glass. I just put up with it, looking at it in blur of vision. Kind of like, yeah, like an image that's not focused. Like in the days when you project and you get the BBFC title come up, and then you refocus the lens on it slightly. If anyone remembers, you see what's going on there. Oh, someone focusing it. Yeah, that's the projectionist. That's we in the back there, and we focus, and then we do one more final focus again when any titles are coming up on the actual film print, the print film movie itself, and then just focus again, just to make sure. And then everything should stay focused then. Yeah, those color band artifacts are just bloody annoying. I saw it on Titanic when the submersible in the movie, it goes down deeper into the it appears up here and then starts descending, and then I noticed because of the lighting around the submersible and the color of the background, and then I'm starting to notice these circles around the image and thinking, what the bloody hell is that? Oh, I never saw that when I projected that movie at Bristol. Yeah. I've seen the movie at the cinema as a Patreon. Crikey, I don't know how many times I saw it. 14 times or something. And then projected it myself, and projecting it myself was not how it should have gone on the first night. I mean, the projector cake platter motor broke down, and there's how many motors are on the cake platters? 1, 2, 3, three motors. So you got 3 platters, and then you got underneath each platter you got a motor, and then that goes to another controller on the side of the cake platter thing. It was just a circuit board that broke down. I don't know why anyone could just say, think out loud and say, why don't we just take one of the circuit cards out of the bloody other one and just swap them around and plug it into this one? Surely that would have worked. But I don't think anyone was thinking that much that night, because everything was rushed, and people were coming into the auditorium, and it's like one part is working more or less on the cake platter, and one part isn't working, because you got to have film wound off at a certain motor speed, a certain tension, certain tension and such, and the other one winding it back on. And me and someone else, another projectionist, we had to take turns at turning the cake platter. It's just because it was idle, it was doing nothing. We had to remotely turn it by hand. So yeah, that's not just a 3-hour movie. You got advertisements, trailers, Dolby Digital trailer, and then the movie. So that's probably just a little over 4 hours. We're sat on the floor turning this cake platter around, and our hands were black after due to the aluminium. And we've been cleaning the cake platters for days and days with methylated white spirit, to get all the, get them clean, because they're brand new. Yeah, but still, the film was pure. The colours are pure. You got pure light shining onto pure colour film. There's nothing right or wrong with that, I don't see. It is magic. Like my cat, magic. But actual film, digital today, it is rubbish. It is lousy. It's cheap. It's flawed. It's got so many problems with it, and just trying to see what. Yeah, it's just cheap. And occasionally I see colour banding noise, typically on streaming movies. Oh dear. Oh, 4K. Oh, streaming a movie. Oh, it's even. Fuck. God. Throw it in the cat litter is what I would say. It's just waste of bloody waste of bloody time. And the other thing is switching. You know, doing presentation is like, because everything's digital. You expect it to be fast. I have yet to see something that is fast. I not really seen the ons and goings too much behind, you know, because digital projection in cinema is a different sort of thing. I don't have too much experience with it, other than I just see it the way it's just a video projector, nothing more. It's just a common video projector. Doesn't matter what bloody resolution or whatever, it's a common video projector at the end of the day. But I can't get fast presentation here in my home. I mean, you know, if I want to switch video mode on the AVR over to another mode, it takes about roughly 10 seconds with an OLED to get a video signal and synchronizing lock. With a video projector, it takes a lot longer. It takes maybe 15 seconds, almost 20 for argument's sake. Almost 20-second half for argument's sake. That's just too long. I've seen snail going faster than that. It's pathetic. And I don't know why too many people embrace it, really, because probably not in a rush, are you? But in the cinema, you can't have those sort of things going on. You got to get on. You got to get cracking. You can't just wait for it to, like, you know, if a 35 projector broke down, then it breaks down. Common things that break down are the film could snap, because it, you know, it is what it is. Film. With digital, it's not like there's no moving parts. There are still moving parts if it's a hard drive, and there's moving parts. That could, for some bizarre reason, fail. And then you can't show the movie. Period. If it breaks down, snaps with film, you just cut it, splice it, put it back together, and get it up and running again. With digital, it's like, oh god, flipping heck. You can't see inside the hard drive now, can you? If it's loaded onto the projector server, I think that's called a server, it could go wrong. It could freeze up. Oh, and that's one of my other pet hates. That's worse than probably the film jamming in the film gate. That's the other problem. It could go wrong, and then due to the heat from the lamp, it just melts the celluloid. It just overheats, just like putting a magnifying glass and focusing hot sunlight onto something, and then it just melts. God, yes, just so many bloody things that go wrong. But if you ask, I think film is still better. It is still by far the original medium. Digital is just, it's like, okay, digital photography taken, you know, you take a picture and you look at the and you think, it's a bit too much contrast on that. Oh, I didn't check my white level. I'll take that photo again. That's better. And then delete the other picture. That's simple. Now, you can't do that with film. You got to wait until it's developed, and then you only get so many prints out of, say, 24 or 36 exposure film. if you do it right, then you should get all the film's exposures back, and like, wow, look at that. And then compare it to digital, and it's like, it's only a shade or so off a little bit, you know. But sometimes I take a picture with the smartphone versus the DSLR of the same image, and the phone just sometimes adds on extra color. Oh, to someone like the masses, it's like, oh wow, extra color. No, that means bad, because it's overemphasizing, it's bullshitting the actual color that's I can see and what I should be getting. And then it's like tapping the screen and ISO and getting the adjustment, the white balance. And if I just go to the DSLR and just take, oh wow, that's good. Versus the DSLR, the DSLR versus the smartphone. The smartphone's a load of rubbish. It just makes the sky a little bit bluer. Sometimes I can see this in photography in movies, and I'm looking at, you know, natural environments, and I can relate to those things. Everyone else should be able to do the same and relate. But you look at a lot of these movies. I was looking at this Ghostbuster Afterlife movie and thinking, the colour on this movie is shit. It's terrible. Some of the daylight scenes outdoors look like it was on a xenon lamp that's only got maybe about 10 hours of lamp time left on it. It was so dim. I'm thinking, why do they, you know, you look at other movies filmed on 35, and you look at the brightness, the contrast, everything, and the work that goes in, it's way better. Way better. Even some of the nighttime photography is pretty good. You know, like Escape from New York, and that's all fast lenses and cinematographer knowing how to handle all this, and the photography looks good. It's not perfect. It's still going to be a little bit different from how we see with the light coming into our eyes, but it's still, still better than like looking at some rubbish Michael Mann movie where he's going from digital. No, he's going from the opening of the movie. He's going from film, and then the first bit of the scene where you see the character Vincent opening a door. I think it's to an airport or something, and then walking up some stairs. That's all then digital. And then and then eventually going back to film, and then digital, film, digital. Oh, bloody, what a mess. What a mess. It's like, story's okay. Yeah, the story's okay. But the cinematography on it was absolutely disgustingly repulsive. I couldn't look at it. It was just, well, if you squint your eyes at it, you just kind of, you just don't notice the digital, and probably won't notice the film texture. So you can notice the texture going from film and then to video texture, and it's like, it's got this strange motion, and it just looks, it's out of place. With reality, we don't see that. We see the light coming into our eyes and our mind. Don't say you see it different than I do, because that's bullshit. We see nothing more than light and shadow, and that is what makes an image. I turn the light off, you can't see squat. You can only see just a little bit. I can see on the video camera here just a little bit of where light is coming from the actual phone. Little bits like the white symbols on the phone, but the rest of it is black, still with a proportion of lighting that's behind it. But mostly if I put it a little bit closer to me, and I can just see it on my glasses here, that's only light coming from the time and the symbols on the phone. Turn the light back on. And yes, I know the brightness from the phone doesn't even look right there, because it's a little bit, yeah, I can tell on the, and it's like, if I take this and maybe put a little bit, it's a little bit too much on my forehead there, so I put a little bit of shadow on it, and it changes the light level. And then the camera might auto adjust slightly, which I can see it doing slightly. Things like that. I watched one movie that was filmed digital. Oh god, I think it was called, it's a stupid movie with that overrated actor Liam Neeson. Oh, he Jedi Master, whatever. I know exactly where you are. I got methods and all that bullshit. This movie, Ice Road or whatever it was called, it was god awful. There's a scene in it where he's having a conversation with a doctor in the movie, the character that is, and he's standing near a window. And problem there being photography is the light coming in from the, from the window just made the whole scene so dark, because the iris, or they haven't got any of that reflective panels to reflect light. It's like, say, if I take a picture of the outdoors and I can see a tree and it's a little bit in shadow by proportion on the camera, but my eye can see it. Okay, I can still see in the dark shadow areas of where the leaves, and it's all moving and changing the light. And then I think, how about if I use the flash? Take a picture with the DSLR, one with the flash on and one with the flash off, okay, and one with the flash on. I can't remember if I did the same for the video, the smart camera, whether I took one with the flash on and off, the same picture, and then compared, for a personal shootout, so to speak. But the smartphone was just like, okay. But at the end of the day, it's still a crappy, it's still a load of crap, because it's got a crappy lens on it. It doesn't have a lens like that, or like that, or what, or a little bit, it doesn't have, you can't put big lenses on these bloody smartphones. I think you can. They probably got adapters where you could put it around and then put a lens. Where is it? Well, on this one, it's at the front, because I've got the, what's it? Where is it? Yeah, it's there. Yeah, it's there. So you put a lens over, an adapter over then, so you can get a little bit more, say, focus. But you just put your fingers on the. I don't think I can do it on the front view. No, it doesn't change the zoom. Only does it on the other way round if I'm filming the videoing the opposite direction. And then you put your fingers on it, and you can zoom in. And that only goes up. That only goes so much times. My hand's just a little bit over the other side of the. So if I just, if I turn it that way, but if I turn it at this angle, because my hand, anyway, you get the idea. At the end of the day, film beats digital 4K. 4K's a load of garbage trash. Not much really of my opinion. It is just garbage trash. I wouldn't miss it if it folded and went under. I wouldn't miss 4K. I wouldn't miss Blu-ray discs. There'll still be a catalogue out there that you can go and buy from a format that's went kaput. I wouldn't miss it. I'd probably buy a bit of VHS. Actually, I find a bit of not just nostalgia, but several things with the presentation. Okay, it's a little bit line resolution, a bit shabby, but you got to look at the colour sometimes. You just got to look at generally the colour. Forget the line resolution and just look at the colour. At least I don't see colour banding on VHS tape. Bloody hell. But the other annoying artifacts with VHS tape is if the tape is, because it's magnetic, and if it's viewed over and over and over, just like film, would get scratches on it. Videotape gets lines, and you get a lot of white noise appearing on the image, and then you get sound. The sound then changes because that affects whether it be linear stereo, or linear mono, linear stereo, or hi-fi stereo. It doesn't matter which. With hi-fi, you notice the sound dropping out from hi-fi track over to typical linear mono, unless you've got a VHS player that can play linear, or it's kind of like a professional consumer version that can play linear stereo. Obviously it can still play mono, but if the hi-fi track's damaged, it reverts to linear stereo, just as Dolby SRD, and that's a pretty remarkable thing itself then, compared to digital in the home. If something fails in the home, does the AVR switch to analog? Well, if there's damage to the digital track, which is rarely does happen, it rarely ever does happen. The digital track could have something wrong with the encoding. I had one movie one time. I've had actually 2 DVDs, and it took a bit of investigating to figure out the funny, because I've never experienced it before, and thought, how am I gonna play the movie? I even tried getting the same movie twice, and it was the same problem. I don't have that same movie I don't think on DVD anymore. Pearl Harbor. I know I got it on Blu-ray. I may still have it on DVD. I don't know. I can't remember. And the other one was just on DVD only. The Untouchables, Elliot Ness. The film version. And this was on my other AVR, Kenwood AVR, and the Dolby Digital was going like, what the blazes is going on? It sounds like a jackhammer. It sounds like a bloody machine gun going, and you got the soundtrack playing just underneath it, and you got this noise on top. It's as if the encoding onto the disc, or the encoding for the authoring for the disc, wasn't kind of say like in synchronization or such with the digital circuitry for the AC3 playback on specific AVRs that had a specific Dolby digital chip. In this case, it was I think a Motorola chip, and it was a bit of a problem with certain discs with AC3 Dolby Digital. It would create a noise. Other type AVR had a different type of chip sort of thing, and it wasn't much of a problem. So yeah, that could fail. But how did I get the movie to play back? I had to use the left and right channel, or left total, right total, connected to the AVR for switching to Pro Logic 2 mode, I think. That was the only way then I could watch the movie with the sound without this. But Other problems were with digital is total sound dropout and image locking up on the movie, and that was with Dolby Digital, Dolby True HD on few discs, a few movies. It still would happen if I were to use the other. I'm not sure if it would happen if I used the present Onkyo that I'm using. I know I got a Denon, and it won't happen on that. It happens in certain points in the movie of the dreadful movie. It is a dreadful movie, Total Recall, and there's several scenes in the movie where the image locks up, or the sound is interrupting and dropping out, coming on and off, on and off, on and off, and then freezes. And the only way someone solved that, and then they put it up on the internet, so the only way you can get around this is you got to switch the bit stream to PCM. And it's something to do with the handshake going from the player to the AVR through the HDMI lead. Now, I even tried going out using the Dolby True, but using the 8-channel audio output from the AVR connected into the 8-channel output from the player connected into the AVR, and there wasn't a problem there with any freezing, or it played. It was the encoding and something to do with the handshake through the HDMI connection. Weird. But generally you had to switch mostly to, if no one had it connected up through the RCA phonos going into the only other way was switch it to PCM, linear pulse code modulation. You'd still get 5.1. And the other one was, and this is by probably far the worst, was DTS. It was called the Bit Bomb. Oh my goodness. I tell you, that was way worse, because what it did, it outputted. So if you got the AVR volume set at whatever, say -10 or whatever, and you playing a movie, I don't know how many. One movie that comes to mind is Elysium. It's a dreadful movie. And there's a lot of action in certain scenes and such, and a lot of quiet scenes and such. And when doing chapter searching and going from one chapter to the next, that's where you get the DTS bit bomb. Suddenly you get this sort of sound noise, and it is like you're reaching to grab the remote or turn the volume down on the AVR. It lit up the sound level meters on my Sony Cinema DTS, my Cinema SDDS processor. It lit the levels right up. And that's like playing a high powered output sine wave signal, and you'd get a diddling, 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 warning, warning, warning. You get that sort of thing playing just before the sine wave, because it is going to come in totally right up at 0 dB, and it is going to be very bloody loud. So you get you don't get a warning with the DTS bit bomb. It comes, it's very unsurprising, but it is, you think, oh crikey, it's going to damage my HF, it's going to damage my tweeters. It won't do much damage to your bass drivers, but it could do damage to your tweeters. Maybe not your mid-range, but definitely your tweeters. It could do damage. Oh, that was so bloody annoying. That was typical with, I think, the Onkyo that I used. But on, say, like newer generation, not just they're not, say, like newer generation AVR, they're newer generation codec microchips, or where they're produced, what type of chips they are. You don't get that anymore. But you do get something else, I'm pretty sure. I've not noticed yet, but I'm sure it must be there. It's probably maybe very, very high frequency. Probably only show up on an RTA analyzer or FFT, and then you see something like, what is that? Very up here in the high frequency. What is that? Until you notice something that's another artifact glitch. And digital is rubbish. But then analog's got its problems. You got wow, flutter with tape. Doesn't matter whether it's compact tape, VHS tape. They share one thing in common. They're magnetic. Do you get problems with, say, like D theatre? Yes. You can get pixelation, freezing, and green and blue and pixels. You can get that issue. But as for it, as it is, I'm quite surprised it could still play a pretty remarkable high definite image. I'm pretty surprised with that. It can occasionally get sound dropout, but they don't repeat. It's not like lightning, and it repeats over and over. The same, maybe like with a disc, and every time I play that scene in Total Recall, if it was going through on the other radio, it's always going to have the same sound dropouts in the same position every single bloody time. But I've never noticed the same sound dropout with D Theatre. I play it back again and it plays fine. And I'm thinking, that's strange. It doesn't have the same sound dropout, like in the same position every single time. It's random. But anyway, like film itself, film. If film is SRD, if the print is pretty rough or damaged, it could drop out from a digital track and then reverts to Dolby SR. Spectral recording replaces the A-type noise reduction, and it switches pretty quick. In fact, not just pretty quick, it's like you don't even notice it unless you're listening for it. And then you notice, like with certain scenes of sound that may be in the surround channel or something, or maybe the front left or right or whatever, and you notice a kind of sound going, maybe like if it's raining, you got rain sound effect, and it's like you might get this sort of effect, which I heard actually with a movie. What was it called? That movie, LA Confidential, and it was playing downtown in SRD, and there was damage to the print in the scene where there's having an argument with two characters, and it's raining outside, and I can hear it going shh, 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 shh. And it did that for nearly 5 minutes, I guess. So there was significant damage, not major damage, but minor damage to the print where near to where the sprockets are, where the digitals is kept in each little perforation. And each perforation, when you look at it very closely, you do see slight individuality with the digital coding between each single perforation, as well as you see the individuality with the stereo variable area track, little wavy lines, and they get converted onto a solar cell, like converts it into electrical signal, and then bam, you get audio. So that I think is really magical. That is, it's just like these little wavy lines. That's like the soundtrack, and it's like, bloody hell, that's clever. How that's done. But you just don't notice it because it's very fast switching, very fast. If it had time lag delays between in pause in the sound and then the sound came back, audiences will get very unrested. Not to mention the technicians building the equipment and thinking, how do we solve this? We have to go back to the drawing board and solve the problem there, you know. So you get those problems that occur. But does an AVR switch to I've not noticed it switching unless you undo the, say, like, if you undo the HDMI lead from the AVR, well, you're going to lose video. That's no if, no but. You'll lose video, audio, everything. And if you still got something connected up to, say, like from the player, left and right RCA phono, or left total, right total, connected to the AVR, will it switch automatically to the analog sound? No. You got to do that manually. You got to do it manually, even though the AVR is set to auto, and I'm thinking it's set to automatic. So if no digital signal's coming in and there's still an analog signal pad connected, it should switch automatically over to the analog. Regardless of there's no image there, it should switch. But if I had say an optical lead connected for Laserdisc, DTS, and I've still got the left and right still connect, I always have on any of the players I always got the left total, right total, so I could switch over to 424 matrix if I want to. If I pulled the optical lead out, would it switch over to analog? It should. I think it does. I think it should. I know it should. I'm just going to say, just say you don't remember. I don't remember, really. I've not really duplicated it to see whether it does. It should, you know. It should just automatically switch over without too much interruption. It's like the digital video projector and the OLED. If I have the OLED switched on for like 10 minutes and then decide to switch the video projector on and then switch the video projector on and then turn the OLED off, after about 10-15 minutes, I think, then the video projector switches off. I think, what's going on here? I haven't got it on an auto timer. It just switches off. Weird. And the only problem there is just switch it back on the AVR. The AVR just switches off, you know, after so many minutes, and then just switch the AVR back on. I'm not sure if it's something to do with a handshake between the HDMI or something to do with something that's called HDCCP, something like that. If there's a glitch with that sort of network, I don't really give a damn. I just find it bloody annoying. You know, this just wouldn't happen with film, you know. If it's like comparing Laserdisc to a 4K, and that you only have to have a little bit of damage on that 4K disc. Yeah, it could be a little, like, say, like a bit of skin, you know, a bit of skin, and it's stuck on the pits, the pits, that is, for the reading for the laser. The laser is so tiny, fine really minute. And, you know, you get a slight interruption there, it'll all pixelate, it'll freeze. With Laserdisc, guess what? It just carries on playing. You see the interruption. I can see the interruption. I know what's going on there. If I think it's a bit of dirt or a bit of skin on it, you know, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of skin now, you know. If people are worried about 35 and not dragging, you shouldn't drag it on the floor, because you're just going to pick up a lot of dirt or hairs or fluff or dust. Well, dust is neither here or there. It's floating around. So you're eating it. Yeah. You think you go to a posh restaurant? Yeah, you're eating dust. Yeah, 5-star restaurant. Yeah, never mind about how bloody clean they are. But if you don't think about it, you know, as long as you haven't got bright sunlight coming through, and you see all this dust floating around, to anyone that might be like myself and think, yeah, this really puts me off, you know. No one else doesn't seem to notice it. But it's there. It doesn't matter when. It's always there. You see it floating around, you're drinking it, you're eating it. Oh, God, please. But every sort of medium of, this is a very long, I think this is my longest upload video by far. This is getting near the 50-minute. Everything's got an artifact. I've got artifacts. So do you, and you, and he, and one behind, watching this and all that, and inside out, back to front, turned around, you know. You all got flaws, artifacts. No one's perfect. Even my cats, they got flaws. One doesn't like the other. Just likes to torment. Just because he's an alpha male, he thinks he's the pet supremacy. He thinks he's the leader. Oh, no. Magic's the lead. He's number 2. No, Sooty is number 1. Magic's number 2. And Bear is number 3. Bear thinks he's number 1. No. He's number 3. Number 3! You know, Austin Powers. Number 2! Yeah. So, we all got flaws. Okay. That's why everyone in NASA's not perfect, you know. If they were, then they'd be God. But, you know, that's why everyone is team player and collaborate to solving. But do I see that in the home cinema sort of thing? The you know, a bonding of people, of trust, and I know there's some that just don't like me. I don't mind. I like to be disliked. Doesn't bother me. It's least of my worries. I mean, I look around and guess what? I don't see any of you in here, so there's not going to be a problem. It's not going to be an argument. You know, it's not going to escalate. If it's something goes out public, then it goes out public. But you know, there's a lot of people I don't like on YouTube. Period. They're flawed. I think they're totally brainwashed. They haven't themselves got much, say, technology. They haven't even, most haven't even got a common multimeter. And I see all these so-called video calibrators. Oh, there's one person on YouTube, I'm not going to mention any names, and he's a video calibrator, and everyone else is saying he's not. it's a lie. He's bullshitting everybody just for some personal gain of money. I don't know what the deal is, but you probably know who I'm talking about. So, you know, and I see all these other, you know, and they're like, oh crikey, are they getting paid by certain people just to do a good review? Oh, and I hardly see any real test equipment that these people got, especially one YouTuber. He does videos probably once every couple of weeks, every few weeks, a few times a week. Then a longer video live stream at the end of the week. And he's got a beard. His hair is very well groomed, kind of like mine. Only he's got a little bit more colour in his hair, I have to say. Yeah. You'd probably know who I'm talking about, because there's only one person with a beard, and he's got someone else to the side, you know. So you probably know who I mean. But I could tell, has this guy got any test equipment? No, I haven't seen anything as common as a multimeter. And it's like, if you like it, if you know, it's like, what does he say? If you like the sound of it and that's what gives you pleasure, then fine. But no, that's not a case of being fine. That's not technical. You think sound is easy. It's not. To get it set up, setting speakers up, have you done the test? I mean, have you put a microphone and done a frequency sweep of the bass driver? That is, the way I would do it, I would disconnect the mid-range and the high range, so that only the bass range is going to play, and do a frequency sweep from the lowest frequency to the highest, and see where it rolls off. Yeah, with a passive crossover, and then repeat the same with the next loudspeaker. And if it's one of these home theatre things with mismatching left, you know, with a tiny little centre speaker, oh, a load of rubbish. I would do the test and then go through the mid-range, the high rate, the tweet, you know, by disconnecting each speaker and seeing what the frequency curve looks like. And then it's a little bit more than that. It's then putting those speakers in position in a room, because how they are on a laptop, here, a speaker there, and a speaker, you know, where there and there, they're pretty much in a fixed position. Yeah, I can have it sort of like that, very straight, and then I can tilt it this way and tilt it that way. Changes the frequency of the sound. I can tilt it and move it in different positions. That also changes the frequency of sound. You only have to listen to pink noise just to hear it changing, you know, from brightness to a very dull. You might want it very dull sounding, so it's not very, but then that's just, you got to measure it. You got to measure and see where the frequency curve is going. Like, is it flat? Is it going flat? Well, I don't think so. It's probably going like this, and then goes up, and then comes down, and then a little wiggles and all over the bloody place, you know, without looking like a roller coaster with the loop. I don't think it can do that on a frequency sweep, a loop the loop. That'd be like seeing the magic bullet theory, zigzagging around and doing something very bizarre and unusual, and taking out two people at the same time. Unless that's alien technology from Area 51 and it's a magic space invader bullet or whatever. Otherwise, no. You see a uneven frequency response, and then you compare the other. Then you do a frequency. You got the frequency graphs of each of those speakers measured up close, and then of course it's very difficult, because with a microphone being close, sound is going to impact on that on that microphone and then go back and sort of thing, you know. So it's a tricky sort of thing. But you look at the overlays, and then it's like they're not exactly matching up or lining up. I mean, here, blimey, the frequency response is completely way out of position to this one. Or is it the other way around? Is it this one here that's out of position? Or this? Basically, you just got to align it until they're all doing the same thing. How well are the speakers on this? Well, how would I run a frequency sweep for it? I'd have to connect it to the REM. I'd have to get an input signal to it through, where would I get an input on this? I'm not sure if it'd be through the USB connection, but okay, simple thing is just to play anything that's pink noise on YouTube, pink noise signal. Yeah, there's lots of them. And then just put a microphone very close to each speaker. And they're only a little oval, some are only a little tiny oval speakers, probably about 1 inch or so. And it can really generally only manage down to about 200 hertz. When it starts going below that, play that the volume level, whatever it is, can do, it then starts resonating, and that's making horrible sound. And then it just, and as for anything like high frequency, how high can it go? I don't know. It's kind of like putting a microphone on it and then just observing the steady state of the signal and seeing what it looks like. But I'd rather get a frequency sweep for it, but I think that can only be done through maybe the USB. Get a signal into it, and then I could do a frequency sweep. Anyway, this is a long video-ish. By far I think I've done on. So, over and out.